Every great movie has a climactic end scene, and every great work of music has a crescendo that it builds towards. And the same thing is true at Mass when we celebrate the consecration. So if you go to Mass, you've been on this journey the whole time, from the very first moment that you entered in, and the songs that you sang in this procession that led towards the reading of the Old Testament and the New Testament and the Gospel, and then our profession of faith, and then we made our offerings to the Lord, and all that comes together, all that culminates in what we call the consecration, which is where we use the words that Jesus spoke at the Last Supper. And what happens as we remember that event, because Jesus says to do this in remembrance of me. It's very important that we understand that word remembrance, because it's not just like recalling, like, oh, I remember what I was doing last week. That for the Jewish people, when you would remember something, particularly in an official act of worship, it means that you're actually present to the reality. So when they would celebrate Passover, they'll say, why is this night different than every other night? Because this night, we who were once slaves have now been set free. And the same thing is true for us in an even deeper way when we celebrate the Mass. Because by the power of the Holy Spirit, Jesus draws us into the mystery of what happened on the night of the Last Supper, and in an even deeper way, what happened the next day when Jesus gave his life for us on the cross, as we celebrate the Eucharist. So the bread and wine are offered up on the altar, and we call down the Holy Spirit upon them, and the priest says these words that call to mind everything that Jesus did the night before he died. And as he lifts up the bread, he says, "This is my body." He actually uses the words of Jesus, that the priest in that moment, we say, stands in persona Christi, in the person of Christ, that he lifts up the Eucharist, and then that becomes, the Eucharist, that host becomes the actual body of the Lord. Then he lifts up the cup of wine, the chalice filled with wine. He says, "This is my blood, the blood of the new and everlasting covenant." The covenant, which is this new relationship of love that God has made with us in and through Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. So we participate in that. Do this in remembrance of me. We participate in that whenever we come to Mass and receive Jesus in the Holy Eucharist. So that crescendo happens at the consecration. This becomes this moment where heaven and earth meet, where the divine and the human, they come together in this amazing marriage. And so what happens at the consecration is bread and wine, ordinary bread, ordinary wine, become the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ, his presence among us. So that gift is what we call the Holy Eucharist. And even the word itself, Eucharist, means thanksgiving, because all we can do in response to God's infinite generosity to us is to give him thanks. And that happens right there on the altar every time we come to Mass. Hey guys, if you enjoy these videos, thank you. Thank you for watching them. Thank you for sharing them. And make sure you subscribe to our channel.